Heavenly Father, Lord God, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for the fellowship we're going to have together here. Dear God, we thank you for your son who gave his life for us on Calvary's cross. Heavenly Father, we just pray now that you'd be with us in our meeting and everything said and done here would be bring you praise and glory. These things I pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which he stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes. This is the updated one with this new saying I sent out.
Okay.
I got one for you.
Okay.
I plan on
Maybe
reading
thank
it
you.
aloud too, so you-
No,
You already
nothing.
wanted it.
Okay,
Okay.
we're clear on that one.
Yes. All right, you guys gone through the minutes?
Yep.
Need to approve the minutes from last time.
So move. I second.
All in favor? Aye. There you go. And the claims from for this time. The total is $1,608,893.31. Need to approve that.
Make a motion for that. I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry about that.
I would just like to add, I sent out an email with the updated claims on here. There's a new paragraph on there that the State Board of Accounts auditor told us that we need to add to it, which you'll notice on there.
Very good, Benny.
It's later on.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
Have a lot of them right there.
Yeah, we have.
We have no treasurer or clerk's report this time, so we'll go on to department reports. Okay,
Just real quick, I'm just asking, permission to collect, $4 per mile, regulated drain. This is something I do annually. It is in the, this is collected out of the drainage board budget,
right.
and it is in the drainage board budget, so. That has to do with my bills.
Okay,
It's something annually I have to do every year.
Mentioned to me before the meeting that that's the same rate it was last year and the year before. The rate increase.
I need a motion to approve that.
I make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Hey guys,
Hi there.
I'm here on behalf of the extension office. First thing is confirmation of hiring for our office manager. So we started, Melissa Quebec, she will be starting here soon. Candidate. So we're starting first. I don't know if you guys. Okay. I also am seeking permission to close the extension office on the 22nd for staff training. We're gonna do a full staff, full day of getting everybody on the same page before the summer starts and we get those crazy with activities. Would like to do a day.
Okay. You'll make a motion on that one, guys?
So move. I second.
All in favor?
Thank you, Debbie.
All right. I don't really have a lot. Andrew, you've already got these things, previous meetings. Don't have any numbers or anything, but I got a couple of great stories. Trying to upstage me. All right, so on May 6th, 12:34 a.m., Gibson County Central Dispatch received a 911 report of a single vehicle accident where a vehicle had gone across both lanes of travel on US 21. Deputy Lauren Bartlett and Garrett Tooley, this is Lauren. He's a night shifter, so many of you guys, this is the only way you're gonna see him. And then here, he's another night shifter. They responded to the scene, as well as Fort Branch Town Marshal, Darrell Parker, and Owensville Town Marshal, Roger Leister. Upon arriving at the scene, they found the driver, a 28-year-old male, incoherent and disoriented. That point, they began a roadside DUI investigation. During that investigation, they brought the driver to Deegan Station, and upon receiving the results of the test, they found the driver had no drugs or alcohol in his system. However, the hospital did a CT scan while he was there and found a 6 centimeter by 6 centimeter mass on his brain that had caused a medical issue. The officers apologized for taking him into custody and taking him to the hospital and informed that he was free to leave if he so choose. However, after the deputies left, had a massive seizure. And almost no symptoms before the wreck, but after the officers left, he had a massive seizure. On May 8th, or I guess it would be May 9th, they had brain surgery on that subject. It was 25% of his brain. He's able to walk, he's able to talk, and he's home right now. The family said that the officers taking him into custody may have saved his life. So that's whenever I would say that in the Gibson County Sheriff's Office, we do great things, even if we stumble into it. Now, for my next we do great things story, on May 10th at 6:04 p.m., Gibson County Central Dispatch received a 911 call requesting an ambulance be sent to the 600 block of South Seminary in Princeton. Let me preface this, I do have permission to tell these stories. I have talked to family members, so I'm not violating any HIPAA laws. Communications officer Julian Hyman took the initial call from the first. You'll never see this guy's face. He's one of our unsung heroes. He was also assisted by James Griswold. So communications officer Julian Hyman took the initial call from the person who had injured themselves while working in the yard with a tiller. Despite the fact that there was a high emotion and rapidly evolving situation, Officer Hyman exuded calm and professionalism as within seconds, he had paged and dispatched Gibson County Medical to the scene. Officer Hyman and Officer Griswold worked together to help get people to the scene and to relay communications between the Princeton Police Department, Princeton Fire Department, and Med 5. The first police officer on scene was Princeton officer Bryce Jutsey, and he was able to apply a tourniquet to the caller and relay pertinent information to Officer Hyman and Griswold. Ultimately, the caller was transported to an area hospital where they underwent a medical procedure. And as of May the 11th, they were resting at home with the aid of their family members. I just want to state that I'm so very proud of Julian and Grizz, as we call him, for their extreme professionalism. I'm truly in awe that they were able to remain calm during this extremely emotional event. I want to thank them for doing great things for the community. I heard that call. I heard that what Julian heard. And I told him, I said, it's everything if I'd have been there, there's been everything you can do to keep you from going through that steel door, trying to go do help. He's exactly what he was trained for. I'm so proud of those guys. Any questions?
No.
Thanks, Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
I think it's fair to say, Bruce, that we're proud of them too, and proud of what you're doing to boost morale within the sheriff's department. I know you have, from day one, tried to boost morale within the troops. And that does not go unnoticed. So we appreciate that part of it and keep doing what you're doing.
George, you want to do your update?
Thing before
No.
that.
Nobody else stood up as department heads.
I think they moved around on you, Ken.
He was hoping that it's somebody.
I got it. Matt Holmes, I got.
Everybody looks forward to getting up there.
Well, last week, we poured the concrete pad in the building. This coming Thursday, this week. Intake part of it, yeah, part of it. They're done, they're gonna start laying block shortly after that. And pressing along. Rain can come in.
Yeah.
We're going along. Sweet thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. All right, Matt.
We have receipts for CPOs, CNB 23, so our community development project, and CPO 23, which is our funded county project. They were turned in the mic. Jason's got that down here now.
Got Jason Happy.
I'll read them into the record. So this first one is from E&B Paving. And it's on the CCMG 23. Bid amount $1,544,976.41. I'll repeat that, $1,544,976.41. This is from E&B on the other project. Bid amount $1,038,230.52. $1,038,230.52. Next one is from David Enterprises for CCMG 23. Is that the proper identification?
Yeah.
$1,954,782.90. $1,954,782.90. Next one is from David Enterprises as well for the GCPO 23 project. And the bid amount is $1,313,696. $1,313,696.74. Industrial last. Next one is from J.H. Rudolph. Project CCMG 23, bid amount is $1,574,000 $1,574,702.10. $1,574,702.10. And this is from J.H. Rudolph on the other project, GCPO 23, bid amount is $1,055,258.33. $1,055,258.33. So Matt's going to take these to the back. He's going to make sure they are compliant with the bid specs required, and then he'll come back later in the meeting. We'll bring us back up.
Need to recess from this, right?
Do what?
Need to vote to recess. Come back, right?
Just come back in. Yeah, they don't need to
Matt,
take any vote.
I heard the reading of 3 or 4 different numbers there altogether for David Enterprises and then only 2 for the J.H. Rudolph. Is there a reason for that?
2, 2, and 2.
Okay,
It's
okay, okay.
It's 2 for David, 2 for David, 2 for EMB, and 2 for Rudolph.
So we got David, J.H. Rudolph, and who was the third one?
EMB paving.
E and B? Are they out of Evansville or? Okay. And does this include striping for all the roads too? Okay, so I know we had some striping issues.
There were some additional, Kenny was at the pre-bid meeting. He can vouch we talked about the striping situation and adding some documentation for laying out the center lines.
Okay, that was my chief concern is that it was actually, detrimental to our roads and safety and I don't want to see that occur again. And no matter who we end up with. So, sounds like it has been addressed. Okay,
Kenny was at the pre-bid on that one. Talking about that pretty well in depth, didn't we, Kenny?
we do. Did they seem pretty receptive or were they pushing back?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, you can make it. We had some striping that was, shall we say, not up to par.
Drunk driver.
Yeah. It was a little rough,
It's happened
a little
before.
rough in areas. And I know it happens in other counties too, but it's not acceptable if you're spending a great deal of money on your roads and you expect them to be safe. Just not acceptable.
All right, next on old business is, Commissioner's resolution, reestablishment of budget.
Yes, Commissioner Montgomery, we put together a resolution and I'll read it for the public. Resolution addressing the appointments made by executive. Whereas executives make appointments to department head positions, boards, commissions, and other agencies as provided by law. Whereas it is a statutory duty of the Gibson County Board of Commissioners as the governing body of Gibson County to appoint persons to various department head positions, boards, commissions, committees, or authorities to assist in the operation of county government. And whereas the Board of Commissioners wishes to appoint qualified, knowledgeable, and dedicated people to serve on the aforesaid department head positions, boards, commissions, committees, or authorities. And whereas the clerk, administrative assistant to the board will advertise vacancies, that would be Judy's role, and present all applications received to the Gibson County Board of Commissioners for their consideration. And whereas Section 1, the policy of Gibson County governing appointments to the various department head positions, boards, commissions, committees, or authorities made by the Board of County Commissioners is as follows. A, any citizen of Gibson County is eligible to serve on the appointed department head positions, boards, commissions, committees, or authorities of the county when such appointment is not prohibited by state statute. B, all appointments will be made according to the Indiana Code 3622-12 and Indiana Code 3622-2-13 or committee in question. This resolution replaces all previous appointment policies. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Gibson County Board of Commissioners, do hereby resolve addressing the appointments made by executive, which is in the state of Indiana, the commissioners. This is essentially just defining appointments and who makes appointments in our county. It's a longstanding rule that falls under home rule in the state of Indiana. But I thought this might clear up some matters that we've been contending with here recently. Also, what I would propose to do at this time is, and I would make a motion that we adopt this resolution just to kind of educate and explain to anyone who might have an interest in this in our county or that needs to hear it, like department heads or different groups. And that we reestablish basically the budget under the county commissioners.
I'm gonna make the motion to
That would be my motion.
hold this until I have time to look at these Indiana codes and see what all it says. I mean, I see the numbers, but that don't tell me nothing.
Well, sure. And I've got the,
Make the most of these kind of
I could,
postponed.
well, before my motion falls, if you would, I've got the Indiana code here in my hand and would be happy to share it with you. Just something to think about, but according to Indiana Code 36-2-2-12, which is what I'm referring to there. But appointments are made by the executive and they shall be certified by the county auditor under the seal of the executive, which means your commissioners, your county commissioners. And then Indiana Code 36-2-2-13 is county officer, employment requisites violation offense penalty. Section 13A, the executive may employ a person. Subsection 1, to perform a duty required of a county officer by statute. Or 2, on a commissioner percentage basis. Only if the employment is expressly authorized by statute or is found by the executive to be necessary to the public interest. B, if a person's employment under subsection is not expressly authorized by statute, the contract for his employment must be filed with the circuit court for the county, and he must file his claims for compensation with that court. Any taxpayer may contest a claim under this section. And in Part C or subsection C, a member of the executive who recklessly violates this section commits a Class C misdemeanor and forfeits his office. Now, just to clear the air for anyone who might be hearing this for the first time, but this is Indiana code. It's not something that we commissioners have control over. It's established in the state of Indiana. So, Commissioner Montgomery, I would just ask that we just basically with this resolution, we're not creating anything new. We're just referencing Indiana code. And I really feel like we need to get this in place sooner than later because people kind of need to know the process and the code that we abide by. And I'm afraid if we fail to do it, I mean, this is the other side of the coin. If we fail to acknowledge this, then we're essentially not doing our part to educate people within our government, our local government body.
Well, I still want to at least hold it off till next meeting till I get through, look into this a little bit more.
I second that.
That's.
Could I ask that my motion be heard since I initiated the motion
Yeah,
and that at least be voted on? Again, I'm asking for us to acknowledge Indiana code. I'm not asking for anything new in this resolution. So, and just to be clear, I mean, to not approve this would be to say you take issue with Indiana code. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want us to do that. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, guys. Think about it for a minute if you would.
Okay.
So Commissioner Fleetwood, that's a motion that you're making to adopt this resolution, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second to the motion? Hearing none, the motion fails for lack of a second. Can be addressed at the next commissioners meeting, if the commissioners desire to do so.
let's wait till I have a little time to go over it. All right, GIS coordinator, Jason.
So this is a continuation of the discussion that was held at the last commissioners meeting. I understand from talking with the commissioners independently that there may be an opportunity that one of the commissioners wants to make this evening. And if that's the case, now would be the time to do that. We can have a second and then discussion if there's any discussion to be held.
Well, I'm gonna make the motion that we go ahead and hire Todd Odom for the position that he's been working on for 2 months now anyway, so I want to go ahead and bring him on board full time.
I would like to have some discussion before that proceeds. Just a few questions to kind of clear the air on some of this, but is that permissible?
It is.
Okay. I believe we have the GIS hiring committee here this evening, so just have a few questions I'd like to ask them. Can you explain this process to me, like how this all came about?
Somebody, John, quit.
Yeah, I'll defer that to Ken.
Yeah,
I would just like to know from the committee members that are here tonight, and if you would raise your hand if you were a committee member, a GIS hiring committee member. I'm just curious, who was the committee? I guess that's where we need to start. Who was the committee? And that's kind of what I keep getting when I talk to people is to me, I mean, I see no reason for it. I'm getting these crickets from people. When it's just a question of who formed that committee, who was on that committee, just how did the process start is what I'm wanting to know.
I'd say it started whenever John Howe resigned.
And then how was it carried out? Like, for instance, like who and where and what was involved in this? Let the minutes reflect that no one was willing to provide any information to the commissioners. Okay, so I'm a little shocked. I really am. I'm a little shocked by all this, but that's really not my chief concern. My chief concern is just being forthright and letting everybody see the timeline of this. So Thursday, February the 9th, 2023, John Howe resigned, which is what Commissioner Montgomery just mentioned, and no disputing that. I don't believe with any of those. In February the 10th, 2023, there was an email from Auditor Watkins stating that the commissioners will have final review and approval. I think we're all in agreement on that. Tuesday, February 28th, 2023, there was an interview conducted. The interview was conducted before it was advertised. Wednesday, March the 1st, it was advertised per the auditor. Thursday, March the 2nd, we learned that there was a posting for a Princeton, New Jersey job, that it was advertised online, but it was under Princeton, New Jersey. Friday, March the 3rd, and I'm just going from the emails that were sent to me, the ones that I actually was included on, the ones that I actually, received or people have shared with me. Friday, March the 3rd was John Howe's last day. Sunday, March the 5th, we get an email to Kenny, Commissioner Montgomery, that there's a strong candidate, would like to make him an offer. Sunday, March the 5th, and he says proceed with the candidate, which, as we heard Commissioner Montgomery tell last time, he was saying, proceed with any candidate that you might have. I don't think at that time, correct me if I'm wrong, Kenny, but I don't think you knew that we only had one candidate.
No.
We weren't included on the interviews. Then Thursday, March the 9th, through an email, Surveyor Martin introduces a new hire. Ironically enough, Sunday, April 2nd, after the new hire was announced, there was a job posting to the Indiana State Job Bank with the correct city this time, not New Jersey. And on Monday, April the 3rd, we had our new hire first day. Again, the timeline, I think speaks volumes to what's played out here. But I'm really just wanting to know, like, I don't know, did you guys, for instance, did you two know the gentleman that they interviewed or a person? I don't either.
No.
I don't either. I don't know him.
But I didn't want to be involved with the interview. I didn't want to be involved.
Fair
with it.
enough. Fair enough.
That's them.
And I wanted to be involved just because, you know, I've taken an interest in this position. I've spent probably over 100 hours researching it. And, wanted to be able to talk to them and I get that. We all have our strengths. I mean, and we all have areas that we want to work on or don't want to work on or feel qualified to work on or don't feel qualified to work on. I get that. So. I guess I'm just trying to get a few questions answered. I'm not trying to, at this point in the game, I'm not really trying to do anything other than just ask a few questions and get some answers. And I bring up Indiana code tonight and you know, the resolution, which I don't mind bringing it up again, but if everybody's on the up and up and we have no problem with the Indiana code and the resolution, which it doesn't even pertain to this matter directly. It pertains to appointments, but what I brought up earlier on the resolution, gentlemen, it's not a like retaliatory effort here. It's just, we need to make it clear to people that, and ourselves, what constitutes an appointment and also who makes the appointments according to the state of Indiana code. So I just want to get a few questions answered tonight. As far as I know, this candidate they came up with is probably an outstanding guy. Outstanding candidate. Everything looks really good. But it's just every time I ask a question, it's like tonight in the meeting, I ask a simple question, who was the committee? And no one's willing to even answer that in a public meeting in front of the taxpayers. I mean, to me, that's a red flag. It's definitely not a good look on our part and not our part, but I'm talking the committee's part. You know, none of us know the gentleman, yet we're expected to appoint him tonight. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm going with this. And I guess if things would have played out differently, I'd have a different tune.
Everything I've heard about him's all been good. So he knows what he's doing. And that's a position we're supposed to fit. Well, I don't even know if it's supposed to be us, because Judy called the state and they said normally either the surveyor or the assessor hires this person. That's on the normal. They said with few counties, there is county commissioners do it. The majority of the time, it's either assessor or the surveyor.
I reached out to the Indiana Association of County Commissioners. And we actually received an email. Judy, do you have that email available to you or at your, would you please? I'm sorry to put you out like that, but we reached out to the Indiana Association of County Commissioners. And what Commissioner Montgomery is saying is accurate, actually. If it's under the budget of the surveyor, then it is allowable for the surveyor to be involved in the hiring process. The situation we have here, and I just want to clear the air, is the budget is separate from the surveyors. Am I correct on that, Commissioner
It
Montgomery?
has its own budget,
Has its own budget.
just like anything else. Everything comes out of general fund.
Sure. So,
It's just his own budget.
because I want to make sure that everyone understands this. It's not about even the candidate as much as it is the process. And I think that's where we need to do a better job in educating people. There is a separate budget within the county budget, but it's not under surveyor. And in that case, it is a department head position. So again, I don't take issue with any candidate per se. It's more about following proper procedure and following the budget. I just want to do things right. But my understanding coming from the Indiana Association of County Commissioners is this is something that we can remedy. We can remedy and make it clear. The Board of County Commissioners are responsible. This is from the Indiana Association of County Commissioners.
You gonna read the whole thing? There's 200 and some pages there.
Oh, no. I'm just gonna read one paragraph.
Because if you are, I'm going home.
Rest at ease there, rest at ease. The board, yeah, thank you, sir. The Board of County Commissioners are responsible for the upkeep of county property as the county executive. Historically, geographic information systems, GIS, are established by the county executive and assigned to an appropriate department by the Board of County Commissioners. Their functions are determined by home rule. The budget and administration of non-elected officials falls to the county commissioners unless otherwise assigned by the county commissioners as determined best fit locally. And for brevity purposes, I'll stop there, but it pretty much spells out that the county commissioners assign it. And the motion I would put out there before we move forward, I'm sorry.
There's already a motion on the table. You can't double motion on the table. That's not parliamentary procedure.
I mean, okay, we got,
Correct, Mr. Spindler.
right, but we're not gonna interrupt people during the meeting, are we?
Motion on the table.
Right, but I mean, we need to conduct our business. I mean, you're welcome to come to the podium, and I don't mean to be short off, but I think we need to make sure you come to the podium and state your name. But first, let us finish this, if you would. That's all I'm saying. And again, no disrespect. So what I would like to see happen is if we do move this forward, gentlemen, all I'm saying is we acknowledge this and we reestablish it under the commissioner's budget. So any motion that you would make on the floor right now, I would ask that we also do that and establish it under the commissioner's budget before moving forward. And who made the motion originally? Was it you, Commissioner Montgomery?
What's that?
Did you make the motion originally or?
Yes.
Okay, I'm asking you, would you amend that to include placing it under the commissioner's budget?
Can't do that.
Is that possible?
According to Indiana code, I believe we can.
Can't do that.
We've already got the motion out there on the floor. As
Okay,
is,
let's
so-
go with that motion.
I'm second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Hey,
I would ask for a motion to specify the application of the motion that you just approved. Is it retroactive to the first date of
Yes.
employment with the county?
Yes.
Starting immediately. So I have a motion. Do I have a motion on the floor? Or I'd ask for a motion to ratify the decision to hire Mr. Odom retroactive to the first date that he was employed with the county. Do I have
Make
a
that motion.
I second that motion.
Any discussion?
before you do that, gentlemen, I actually support, I'm at the position now where I support the hire. Just to be clear about this, but I want to include the language about the budget. So that's kind of where I'm going with this.
So there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it.
And if I might make a separate motion on the floor, gentlemen, at this time, what I was just addressing there, if you want to do it separately, that's fine, but I would like to make a motion that we reestablish, not that we recreate, but reestablish what was once done. This budget, the GIS director position budget underneath the commissioner budget. If you guys are fair with that.
I don't think we're, that's, I think that's the,
Go through the
that's
council.
the council.
We direct that according to the Indiana Association of County Commissioners. Now, it will be, you do have a point there, it will be up to the county council to fund it,
Right.
but we actually establish what budget it goes under. Which, I mean, it's going to be there, the position's there, we're not hurting anything at all.
I don't want to-
I'll second that.
So the motion is to, can you restate the motion?
Yes, sir. The motion is to place the GIS director position underneath the commissioner's budget and not defund as the council had mentioned, but instead place the funds under the commissioner's budget. And
Okay, there's a motion
pretty
and
simple.
a second on the floor. Is there any discussion?
I think we should table that because I don't think there were, that's under us. I don't think.
Why do you think that, Nick?
Because it's the budget. I don't think we have anything to do with the budget.
We control the budget. Now, the county council approves it. We set the contracts, we set the personnel. I mean, that is our job.
I think we should table that situation. We can get further information on that. And
There is a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
nay.
The ayes have it, 2-1.
All right, let's go on. Hiring a part-time employee for Hopkins Park. Michael. That's not Sandra, that's Sandy.
Sandy, right. Michael Stevenson, Gibson County Park Board, here to supposed to make a recommendation. On our board met last Wednesday while you guys were meeting. Talked about the applicants. We had 3 letters of interest on the position. Sandy, Allen, Riley are the ones that we'll look at as the candidates that would like to. Sandy is a master gardener and she has done a lot of work in the park on a volunteer basis already. We live a mile and a half away from the park and I think they're a good fit for us. So we're just coming and asking for that blessing, and they are here if you would like to ask any questions.
It's not you, it's her.
I should say, Sandy is going to be the primary part-time employee, but her husband Alan, we are going to also put on so that he can assist her if necessary. So we'll be hiring 2, but the hours will still be roughly 15 hours.
Okay, well, I make that motion, we hire them both.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right. Parish update. Wide disaster preparedness project.
Sure.
Dan Parrish with Parrish Consulting, managed services provider for Gibson County for the information technology. Items. First, 2 months ago, I came before this board of commissioners and requested to address the failing backup equipment within the county. Received permission to proceed, ordered such equipment as was approved. Invoice said equipment and have not received payment. I am at the 60-day mark on this. And actually, on the way over here today, I was informed that right now it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to RMA that equipment. In other words, return it. If the board of commissioners is rescinding their approval to proceed with that, I will qualify that by stating that pretty much on a daily basis, we are dealing with hardware failures with the equipment within Gibson County. Everything I said at that meeting back in March still holds true today to a much higher level. I would like to proceed with installation of that equipment, but I cannot do that if I cannot be assured that the county will pay for it as they already agreed to. That would be the first item I'd like to have addressed before we proceed.
Now, is this the 53,000?
470.
Start saying if it's a million, we'll get no okay tonight.
No. This is to remediate the issue for having with the county backups. This equipment is part of that larger project, depending on how that project unfolds. This equipment is required regardless of what happens with that other project. We're gonna have to do this one way or the other, but we are not going to be able to guarantee that we can continue to provide a solid backup infrastructure for Gibson County government.
Dan, what's the full amount for this request? 79,500?
That is completely different. That 79,000 is not part of what I'm discussing right now. That is in reference to the North Annex. And I'll explain that in a little greater detail in a moment.
Okay. What's the amount for this, one you're addressing right now?
$53,426.94.
53,000, say again?
53,476.94.
Okay, and this includes what?
This is the replacement hardware for the backup destinations for the county's backup system. To ensure that all servers and all information processing is regularly backed up.
How old is the current hardware?
Goes back to 2015, 2016, depending on which specific device. Which in IT terms is an eternity.
And this equipment you're talking about is, I mean, it's the responsibility of the county. It's not something you have within your contract to cover.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
This is equipment physically, well, would be physically owned by the county. Our job is to install it and maintain it.
But at the end of the day, this belongs to us and will belong to us irregardless.
That is correct.
I just have to do it, don't we?
What happens should we not replace this? I mean, what's the worst case scenario? Doomsday. Give us a doomsday, Dan.
Say is that these NAS devices, network attached storage, that we are continually having issues with, continue to break down, and we can no longer guarantee backups. And if you should have a system failure without a backup, then that information is lost. It is no different than if you suffered some kind of a cyber attack and your information were compromised. The information is gone and you have no ability to recover it. In other words, all the man hours that went into acquiring that information were effectively wasted. That's your doomsday scenario.
Gotcha. And how soon does it need to be replaced? Are you talking
2
about
months ago.
2 months ago? That's not bad considering the way most government works, yeah. Right?
McKinney, you already made a motion, didn't you?
Could I ask you, Judy? Do you found the money for that? Okay. If not, Mike said he'd pay for it.
Yeah, let me just write a check.
Well, it's something we've got to do, guys. I know it's a lot of money. We can't depend on something that's gonna fail us all the time, so. I make the motion, we pay for that 53,400 and, was it 46?
76,
76.
94 cents.
Schindler, are you good with all this? I mean, as far as you can tell.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Yeah, we're good.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
On to the second item is an update. At a previous meeting, we had discussed. As a failover location for disaster preparedness. At Commissioner Fleetwood's request, we were asked to also consider the North Annex, the basement, as an option. So 2 quick statements on that, and then I'll go into a little more detail. First, in the proximity of the North Annex, it is not something that I support. On that basis alone, that a single catastrophic event using the newly constructed jail when it's finished and in tandem with the North Annex, I believe they're too close in proximity to one another to provide adequate measures to guarantee that we are not going to have a failure on both fronts. However, that notwithstanding, there are some significant supporting statements to consider for the North Annex. Proximity is a large issue. It's not one that, as an IT professional, that I can overlook readily. However, I also recognize that in terms of cost, expediency, really those 2 items in tandem are pretty solid pro for considering the North Annex. So the decision is not mine. My responsibility to provide you with the information. And then you deal with it as you need to make a decision. I contend, before I get into the details, that maybe a hybrid solution is not such a bad idea. By hybrid, The overall cost to bring the North Annex basement into compliance use as an interim basis is compelling enough that it should be considered. But I would suggest that parallel project run that continues the exploration of the highway department or any other area that is geographically distinct and distant from downtown Princeton as a long-term failover option. It doesn't cost us anything to explore a secondary. North Annex. I think the North Annex, given how fast it could be ramped up and put in position, is absolutely worth considering. But long-term, I do not believe it is a viable solution. So that having been said, there are a number of items that I think need to be addressed in order for the annex to be considered a repository for our failover. First and foremost, we need to expand the access control that is presently being undertaken across Gibson County government to include that door going into that mechanical living basement. We can control who goes in and who goes out of that room. On any given day, we can go in and we can find that room is unlocked as it is. There is a security component there that really should not be ignored. Second, that space desperately needs to be straightened. If you've been down there and you've looked at it, then you know what I'm talking about. There is enough stuff that is just piled around the IT rack that it makes doing any work in there next to untenable. It's a simple thing to clean it up and move all the stuff that is littered around it and make that a viable space. Third, the lighting in that space. For the lights that still work, they are anemic at best. They absolutely need to be modernized LED lighting with emergency failover lighting. It does us no good if the power goes out and we can't see what we're doing in that space. So there needs to be some battery backup lights, some emergency lighting in there so that if we have to go in there to do work, we can actually see what we're doing. I'm in this building now.
That's of course, I do.
But not here.
Oh, not
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
There is no generator on this.
Yeah.
EMA has one, I think it's probably what it's referring to it.
Unless it's affordable, there's not one that's actually.
It's available to us and they sometimes house it back there. I don't know where it's at now,
We
but,
have a connection point.
and I don't know. We could check into it for sure.
But it was
But
surprising.
you bring up a good point. I mean,
If we had one that would work, 'cause it is one of the others, actually, very next item on the list, just to correct it, is the generator.
I'll put that in my notes, check on the generator.
Yeah, if we can do that and then ensure that there will be two outlets necessary for that basement surface need. One is already in place, the second one needs to be added, the first one needs to be relocated slightly, easy enough to do, just unscrew it, move it out, not a big deal. But those outlets need to be. And I would extend that to say that the IT rack upstairs and the MF is included in that configuration. Some of these are now getting into the equipment needs. You need a rack installed. We just do not have space in the existing rack to add more equipment. We need to battery protect that rack to handle the time that it takes to cut over from regular utility supply electricity to an actual generator. I would recommend that we have, especially if we're going to use a portable generator, that we account for probably 1 hour of battery runtime to give us enough time to get something in place. We can go more, but obviously the cost goes up with. We'll need some additional networking equipment down in that basement, just one additional. And of course, labor to do all of this, which that labor does fall outside our contract. Not a big deal, but I would say that the worst case scenario is 2 techs working in tandem to complete this work in a week. With that, give you a base estimate of $79,500. However, to understand that 40,000 of that is money that I basically put as an estimate from personal experience. If we had to put a generator in, 35,000 is a fair estimate. could go a little above or below that. And then I would submit that the other electrical work is probably gonna cost something like $2,000, maybe less. That's gonna be more, like Christian's responsibility to come up with real numbers. But I believe that is the worst case scenario, and so really our portion is likely gonna be somewhat less than 40,000. There is a possibility, one last item, depending, I need to spend some time down there over the course of this summer and see how well that interstate is ventilated with air movement. Make sure that it's cool enough for the additional equipment that we installed down there. Make sure we don't have to open up any HVAC units. And right now, I don't have enough information to advise you one way or the other on that. Any questions on any of that? Anything I can clarify or?
Dan, is our contract with Parish, does it include any services for security?
No, we assist BCS, who typically handles the security for the county. But our role is strictly limited to the network component of that to ensure that it is properly programmed and secured. But as far as the security infrastructure, it is not something that we typically do, well, at least not for the county. We do that type of work, but not on behalf of the security.
Dan, within our contract that we have with you, Parish Consulting Services Incorporated, does the contract include language about who is responsible for backing up data and secure? I'm going to borrow a word that Attorney Spindler used, security, but I don't mean it like in security of buildings or that kind of thing.
You're referring to information security.
Yes, like,
Yes.
okay, so the way it stands as of today, Parish Consulting Services provides us with a guarantee that you will back up our data, that we will not lose data, we will not lose files, correct?
That is correct.
I just didn't want folks to be alarmed, like, oh, if we don't do this, we could lose data.
No.
Yeah. And I have had people ask me that. They said, you know, are you gonna lose data? Are you gonna, we're having these problems. I'm like, no, we're covered, we're covered.
And we will do everything within our ability to ensure that the data is backed up. But if the equipment should fail, my concern is that we miss backup timeframes. So without getting into too technical a discussion here, we conduct full backups on a recurring basis, which are supplemented with incremental backups. It's those incrementals that are extraordinarily important, because those are what protect your gap in time. We will, depending again on the system, back it up multiple times a day. So that worst case scenario, we can limit the amount of data recreation to the smallest amount of time frame possible. The long-term plan, as part of this disaster preparedness, is to still do that, but to also engage in what's called high availability with failover. In other words, everything is fully replicated so that in the event of a catastrophic failure, we have the system real time up and running elsewhere. And all we have to do is make sure we have the communications means to get to it.
Very good. So essentially, we have to provide the equipment and purchase the equipment. But then Dan's team is responsible for updating and kind of directing us and what we need to do as far as equipment goes. And for that, we appreciate you. We thank you for doing that. So I think at this point, I don't know that we have to make a motion or anything, but I would recommend that we just table this for consideration. Now, the other part, the equipment part, we need to take care of, sounds like.
So what we would want, and we have a little bit of time to work with, but we would like to, if possible, after that time to mull it over, is proceed with, setting up the North Annex as the initial available location for the backup. And I don't know what that timetable looks like. There's other people that are involved in this process and I can't speak for them. But I would like to, after you've had a chance to perhaps review it, think about it, come back together, and if we can establish that North Annex be that location, then proceed in that direction so we can at least get that up and operational, preferably this summer if at all possible.
We'll have to look at our monies for sure on that, but I'm good with the equipment. I don't know where my fellow commissioners stand. I'm good with the equipment purchase, but this 79,500 for the North Annex, I'd like to have a little time to look at it and talk to Judy about it too. And
Pick on the money and
Right.
everything.
you guys are good with that.
Yeah.
Further questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Kyle?
All right. Solar update. Anybody have anything on that?
I did learn something today.
What?
Rick Reed, several things actually, but in regards to solar, I learned from Rick Reed, who represents some of the solar group. He said they're still working on it. He said they're still trying to move things forward. There's been, of course, delays in the equipment and the panels, and they can't seem to get everything going. He told me as of today that they're trying to push the Gibson project forward, and for one reason or another, things are lining up a little sooner on that one. And earlier we thought the Elliott would take off initially. He said they're also going to have a meeting. This probably ought to be something we put out there for everyone. They're going to have a meeting soon with some of the landowners that are involved in it. They're leasing their property and give them updates too. So Rick says they're doing their best to move things forward, but it just continues to get stalled at times. But they are going to have a meeting and update their landowners. And that's the best report I can give at this time,
Okay.
Commissioner Montgomery.
Okay, under new business, proclamation EMS week. Dave.
Want to finish this first?
Oh, okay, wait a minute, Dave, wait. Go ahead, Matt.
I have reviewed all bids received, indicating Golf and David Enterprises. I know Jason reads the numbers part of it, we're all at on the DCPO -23, that is EMB paving at $1,038,000. James Rudolph, $1,055,000. David Enterprises, $1,313,000. EMB paving was low bid by approximately $17,000, really close to $1 million bid, so they're very aggressive there. DCPO CCNG 23, Community Crossings Project, EMB $1,544,000. J. Rudolph, $1,574,000. And David at $1,954,000. So EMB and J. Rudolph will $30,000 on $1.5 million project. All of the documents for EMB paving were included for both projects. I would recommend awarding the contract to EMB paving, both contracts, EMB paving for the amount, for the bid amounts. This was actually bid as a unit price bid, so we'll actually be paid by the units that are actually used. So it's all spelled out for every line item, and if they don't do so many, whatever tons they use, they get paid for. The linear feet of striping, all that's in here that I can keep track of. So we haven't been over on any of our bid over here.
I know you're tired of hearing this, and I'm tired of saying it, but who do they use for their striping, or is that to be decided?
We had problems with edge lines that walked over the bid last year. Now, of course, some here, I don't know, there's stuff is in this bid.
Maybe they haven't decided yet, or?
Usually they do.
Okay.
No, it's just like you do that either. Hopefully,
Finish the job.
they have to be done by October.
Over what?
They have to pay it, and we call it.
The thing that EB never finishes a job. I mean, look at 41. Down there by where the Diamond exit is, right there. They're supposed to have that done 7 months ago, and they still ain't done.
The striping cost price this year is the same price as last year. I need to remember that.
What was that date you say? October what?
What was that?
What was the date? October what?
October.
Be completed?
Maybe I have it here for the. I remember even reading it a few minutes ago.
Okay,
October 13.
13.
Final completion.
Okay.
They can start as early as June 5th. Final completion October 15th. And the NB is low bid on both projects. We both bid on both projects.
Indeed.
Last year Rudolph was low bid on both projects. The year before E&B and Rudolph split projects. The year before that, they split again. So I've had to go all different directions here. to check and be agreements.
Did he make a motion on that? Okay. Need a motion to approve the bids on the was it B and B contract?
E&B.
E and B, okay. E and B.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Here's on there.
Commissioner Montgomery, if I could revert back, I'll be as brief as I can here, but we did have, this is coming from Solar. We've had companies in the last week to conduct site visits. And they were given all information and requirements by the county, the DNR, the state, and such as in our project permits. This comes from Rick Reed with Gibson County. There were 4 to 5 companies, and now they will complete their phase of designing and present a project proposal for one of them to be selected, then to be the EPC and build the project. And this is for the Gibson project. He didn't have any updates on Elliott, and I asked him, and he said this will take several months, and we hope to announce the company that's going to build it at our landowner meeting or dinner later this year before harvest time. So that's the newest update I've got.
Yeah. Man, the other two need to sign this too.
Sir.
Yes, you need to sign it too, huh?
I don't know. I don't see it.
There, yeah.
I was gonna make him pay for
Man, my checkbook's getting smaller.
I ain't gonna have you sign it. Okay, okay, Dave.
Coming week, starting on Sunday, going through Saturday, it'll be National EMS Week. And, I know Bruce talked about the sheriff's deputies and everything they do and all. You don't hear a lot about things that we do for me, but most everything we do, about everything is HIPAA related. I can't release anything. But our guys, just so you know, they pretty much save lives every week. There's not hardly a week goes by that they don't save a life or two or whatever. And a lot of people don't understand that about how much EMS is so important in the area. You know, between us, the law enforcement, fire departments, we all work together towards a good outcome for the victims of accidents, heart attacks, strokes, diabetic emergencies, respiratory illnesses. So anyway, this coming week is designated to appreciate the ones that are involved in all this. I've got a proclamation here that I'd like for you guys to look at and possibly sign if you're willing to do it.
I can read it out, or you guys can read it if you want me to, however you want me to do it.
Read it.
Sure.
Okay. Says Gibson County EMS Week proclamation to designate the week of May 21st to 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas the emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improved the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness. And whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatch, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services team, whether career or volunteer, engaged in thousands of hours of specialty training and continue education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishment of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week now. Therefore, the Gibson County Commissioners, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st to 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week with the EMS strong theme, EMS Week, where emergency care begins. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate program, ceremonies, and activities. You know, a lot of times people don't think about it, but the first access they have to, hospital care when an emergency happens is with pre-hospital. And that, like I said, it involves a lot of different entities. But, it's something, like I said, a lot of times I don't talk about our crews a whole lot, but it's mainly because of the fact I can't say a whole lot other than they do a great job. And, always there, ready to go at any, it's called every time something bad happens, whether it's an accident, illness, just injury, whatever. Question?
I know you all signed it, but can we have a motion to approve the proclamation that was read into the record?
I
So,
mean, go ahead.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All
Aye.
right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I know my family's had the unfortunate circumstances of having to rely on EMS. It was unfortunate that we had some sickness or some illness. And I can attest that Gibson County EMS is second to none. They serve many families in this community. And I think you'll find all your commissioners, including myself, support EMS and appreciate everything you do. As we do our law enforcement body too, so.
I appreciate all our guys and appreciate all the sheriff's deputies and police officers and fire departments, because all of them together as a team is what makes the difference.
Okay, next up is South Gibson School Corporation request.
I believe we have some mutual parties here to
Yeah.
carry on with some good dialogue, but I took a few calls if you want me to address it.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
That same lady called me.
Okay. I took a few calls on this, and really it was kind of a practical approach. The South Gibson School Corporation, as many school corporations in the United States and probably abroad too, I'm sure, are concerned about keeping the schools safe. And fortunately, here in Gibson County, we have a sheriff's department that's played an active role in what we call the SRO program, the School Resource Officer Program. So we're pretty fortunate in that we have not only a sheriff that takes an interest in our schools and our children, but also many sheriff's deputies. That said, the school corporation down there is looking to ramp up their security and make it safer for the children in our school environment. By making sure they have if you will, an SRO presence in each of the 4 buildings in the South Gibson School Corporation. One issue that's come up in making the schools safer is vehicles. And, but I've talked to, not everyone, but I've talked to quite a few folks in trying to problem solve this issue. And we've had a lot of good input from both, folks involved in the school corporation and folks involved in our sheriff's department. And to be fair, right now, it just looks like we're coming together and we're going to have something really good here that's going to help improve the security and the day-to-day protection of our youth in South Gibson. One idea that was brought up was using or utilizing some of the older fleet, some of the older vehicles, I'll call them, or let's just say vehicles that
Well, you,
have well used and have served their purpose but maybe aren't ready to be put out to the old car pasture, so to speak. So anyhow, the idea is maybe we could use some of those to kind of remedy the situation. And there's a good reason for that, to hear both the school corporation and the sheriff's department talk. These vehicles would not only be a tool for the deputies there on the campuses, but these vehicles would also be, if you can imagine this, a deterrent.
right.
It's kind of like the old, you put a vehicle out on the street corner, a police or law enforcement vehicle on the street corner, and maybe slow down when you're driving by, or maybe you think twice before you correct your kids in the back seat and lose your cool. So the idea is to put up a police presence out there in the schools or on the school campus to be a deterrent. But also not just a deterrent. It's not just a model, not just something out there to be parked, but it's there if the officers need it. The example I was given by a very respectable law officer, I'll say, is what if, you have, for instance, a wreck or some kind of traffic incident, and the officer that's close proximity to the school, and then the officer would have to leave. You don't want him showing up in his, there's nothing wrong with a gremlin, right? Nothing wrong with a gremlin. But if he shows up in his regular gremlin, AMC gremlin car on the site, it doesn't have the same presence, nor does it have the same, same view. And so, so that's the best way I can explain it. Now, if there's anyone in the crowd that would like to address that, by all means do. But I would just ask my fellow commissioners that in order for us to move this forward, and I'm open to suggestions here and ideas, but that we be open to it and we work with our sheriff's department, but that we allocate. And this is probably going to be a question for Sheriff Van Oven at some point. Don't want to put you on the spot tonight, especially if you're not prepared for that. But the question will be in the future, or whenever you choose to address it, will we have 4 vehicles that we could use there in the immediate?
You have to trade them all in.
Yeah.
All right, so first of all, this should never have been on the agenda. The Association of Indiana Counties has been on the warpath against offices in the county, specifically the sheriff's office. I do not work for the county commissioners. I work with them. We're in the same sandbox. We don't need to be marking our territory. Now, a memorandum of understanding that I've done with the school corporation, they're taking down there with them. I have the authority to appoint special deputies. And we have 3 contestants right now that are before the school board right now that are actually Indiana certified through the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. They underwent scrutiny by the school corporation and their background. That was not good enough for me. I don't have to explain myself, but I will, just so people know. These guys had a psychological evaluation, they went underwent drug tests, and they had a physical assessment by an independent doctor, to make sure that they're good. This is the memorandum that we've worked on continuously since I've become sheriff, was reviewed by my attorney, to make sure that it covers me. Whenever I see people, when we had this unfortunate incident in Hofstra, and it was much ado about nothing. However, last year, we had the Walmart shooting on the west side. Saturday, we had the incident at Eastland Mall where the gun was found. I will not sacrifice the students' safety, South Gibson, North Gibson, or East Gibson. Any threat on my children, because this is my major area, will be met with deadly force, overwhelming deadly force. Now, with the program with the school and the memorandum, I've got new vehicles that are coming in to vamp up my fleet. I have cars that I'm going to put in the pool in case the car breaks down. I will provide with the school some vehicles for the SROs to drive to school. The school will take responsibility for the gas, the maintenance, and the insurance. This is a temporary thing so they can get their feet underneath me, because it's their goal to get vehicles. And then we will take those vehicles and we will bring it back into the fleet and get rid of the bad vehicles. You know, we'll probably come to you guys and ask for an auction because we don't need them at that point. But like I said, crime don't happen whenever there's a car sitting there.
Right.
And I just want that to be a representation. You will not mess with my kids. If you do, then we will take the appropriate actions. And I'm not upset or anything, but if there's concerns with the memorandum of understanding between me and the South Kitchen School Corporation, it should have came to me. Any questions?
I agree with you.
I wholeheartedly agree that we need to keep our schools safe and take care of our youth. I think if we can partner together and utilize some of the old fleet, this would be an outstanding opportunity to partner together. And there may even be some other avenues too that we can look at for vehicles long-term.
Okay, we have NDOT road closure, detour, unofficial detour.
This is a memorandum of understanding within the Ogden, go through this, all the road closures, go through the reimbursement process for the Francisco State Road 64 project. This is for State Road 168 between 41 and I-69. The 120-day closure for a bridge deck overlay. There was a couple of different routes we looked at on that. I looked at on that one. One of them was partial gravel and very flood prone. So the unofficial detour that has been listed for this one. To say through to back to us now is for 168 County Road 175 east. Going north. County Road 600 south. Heading east. And turning south on. And then going the opposite way backwards. That is the road that I believe will be the most traveled with people that don't follow the posted detour. Kind of it's a guess. Where do you think people will go?
Just don't send them back through Frisco.
Not going back to Frisco. Actually, that's for the official detour for that. It's probably. The southbound maybe taking it down 16 Frisco. Everybody who wanted to go on over. Look at the actual official detour. I never really did look at what they had planned here. But this is the memorandum of understanding with the commissioners in the state. So before they close it, I will be out with the state videotaping the road, talking about the deficiencies in it, and then we'll go through the pretty painful process of trying to get reimbursed for damages.
Hey,
do a motion on that one.
Yeah, make a motion to approve.
All the comments.
Need a motion for this.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Russ Fowler. Matt, we're all finished, Jeff. I think we're finished signing it. If you need it back right now. Okay.
All right, now we have 2 medical leaves. Paperwork's been completed and needed to have the motion made to accept the 2 medical leaves.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Thanks, sir.
That's it.
Yeah.
And to adjourn? Need to make a motion to adjourn.
I'm going to.
Okay, good.
As he signs the paper. Can't do it till he signs the paper.
Fair.
All right, now we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.